Today you're going to learn how to create a basic flag book. The original flag book design was created by the very famous book artist Hetty Kyle. And some of the images that you're looking at right now are ones that either I have done or my students have done over the years that I had taught. It's a pretty simple book to make and it's a lot of fun to do. So here are some of the materials that you're going to need. You're going to need a bone folder, either made out of Teflon or plastic. I prefer the Teflon. It doesn't leave marks on your paper. You're also going to need 2 sheets of Davy board and 2 pieces of book cloth. The book cloth actually could be substituted with, any kind of fabric or other paper, and the Davy board can be substituted with cardboard if you want. You're also going to need some PVA or Elmer's glue and a glue brush and a little container to put it in, along with some double-sided tape or a glue stick. You're also going to need some decorative papers for the inside of the front and the back covers of your book. You can use some commercially made papers or you can do a collage of your own. That's up to you. Now you're going to take your book cloth and place that face down, and then you're going to take a piece of your Davy board and you're going to glue that on top. I usually hold the Davy board in my hand and I'll take some glue. You don't want to have too much glue because otherwise it's going to push out through the sides and make a mess. I start in the middle of my board and I work the glue out to the outside edges. And really just be careful about how much glue you're putting on the surface. You want a nice even coat, you just don't want it to seep out once you press it down onto the back of the book cloth. Now you're going to take that Davy board and put it down to the back side of your book cloth and press it down firmly. I usually keep a baby wipe nearby or a damp paper towel and clean off my fingers so that I don't get glue on my project while I'm working on it. And then what I do is I take a scrap piece of paper, put it down on my work surface, and I'm going to flip that Davy board over and really press down the book cloth onto the book board so that I get any extra bubbles or excess glue coming out. The scrap paper is there so that if I do get glue on my work surface, that I can just get rid of it and I don't end up putting the book cloth back down onto a glued area. Just check your scrap paper now, make sure that it doesn't have glue on it. If it does, just discard it, and if it doesn't, you can reuse it. You just don't want to get that glue back onto your next piece of paper. So now you're going to pretty much just do the same thing again. You're going to put your glue all over the back of your book board and you're going to put it down on top of your book cloth. One of my little handy tools that I like to use for book arts are these pieces of brass. They're nice spacers. They come in 1/4 inch, 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch. I use the 1/2 inch one to trim around my book board and trim off the excess book cloth so that I have a nice even border all the way around. I'm using the 1/2 inch one right now, and that should be plenty. What you're going to do is eventually wrap that book cloth around the book board, but this will give it a nice even border. So now you're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other cover. Now that all your edges are trimmed, you're going to take a pair of scissors and you're going to cut diagonally the corners of the book cloth off. But this is really important. Do not cut right up against the corner of the book board. You need to leave at least a board's thickness between the corner and where you cut. If you don't do that, you're going to end up having cardboard showing through and it'll make it for a messy corner. Once you've got all your corners cut, then you're all ready to start to glue and turn your edges over to finish off your cover. So grab a piece of scrap paper again and put it down on your work surface. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to learn how to fold over those edges so that they're nice and neat. So you're going to put a nice thin strip of glue on the one edge, and then you're going to take your bone folder and you're going to kind of just pry that up a little bit and then flip that over, and then really press it down nice and firmly with your fingers or your bone folder, whichever it works. And then you're going to do that. You're always going to work on opposite sides. So now flip it over. I usually take my scrap paper, fold over where the glue area was, and now I've got a nice clean space where I can glue again and not get it on the front of my book cloth. So you're repeating the same thing on the other side. A little bit of glue. Don't put too much down, because if you do, it's going to squish out all over the place. So you're going to bring that bone folder, bring it up and over, press it down with your fingers. So now fold over that glued paper again, and you're going to finish off your two sides. So now finish off the two remaining sides by putting your glue down on the surface as you did the others. Make sure the glue gets under the little flap on the top and the bottom. And before you flip that over, you're going to go ahead and you're going to pinch the sides of the corners in just a little bit and kind of press it down. And that'll give you a nice neat corner, and you won't have any pieces sticking out. So now you're doing the same thing for the other side. A nice even amount of glue. And remember, before you flip it up and over, you've got to pinch those corners in. That'll give you a nice clean corner. Pinch those corners in. Use your bone folder. Bring it up and over. So now you've got one side done. Now you've just got to do the other cover. Once you have your front and back cover done, you're going to set those aside, and now we're going to work on the spine. In order to fold your spine, you need to know which way the paper grain is going. If you want to determine paper grain, all you have to do is kind of fold over the paper slightly, and where you have the least resistance, like that, that's where your paper grain is going. So for this piece of paper, this is the way the grain is going. It's much easier to fold with the grain instead of against the grain. We're going to be folding a long piece of paper for our spine, so I made sure that the paper that we're using has the paper grain going in the correct direction. So here's our paper. We're going to fold our spine. The first thing that we're going to do is fold it in half. I usually do a soft fold first, so I match up those two edges, and then I'm going to press down, and I'm going to just press with my fingers, make sure it's okay, and then I'm going to use my bone folder to make sure that it's got a nice crisp fold. Then you're going to go ahead and you're going to take the raw edge and fold it to the folded edge. Use your bone folder, then flip it over, do the same thing on the other side. Raw edge to the folded edge. Make sure it's nice and even, soft fold, then use your bone folder. Same thing now. Raw edge to the folded edge. Do a soft fold with your fingers, and then a hard fold with your bone folder. And now you're going to open that up and put that folded edge down and kind of open the whole thing up a little bit. Then you're going to reverse that fold and make it from a valley fold to a mountain fold, and bring the fold to the fold. And then take the next fold and bring it up and bring it to the folded edge again. And then finally, the raw edge on the bottom, you're going to bring up and bring it to the folded edge. This is going to give you a really nice, neat accordion. It's always good to make sure that all of your creases are nice and sharp, so just go over them again with your bone folder. And then once you've done that, you're going to take the raw edge that's at top, and you're going to bring it up to the folded edge. And again, just press it down, make sure it's nice and even, and then soft fold and then a hard fold. So now you're going to flip that over, and we're going to repeat everything that we just did. So you got that first valley fold, you're going to turn it into a mountain and bring it up to meet that edge. Press it down. Your fold is actually underneath there, and you're just going to keep repeating that, bringing all of your folded edges up to the outside edge there like that. So anytime that's a valley fold, you're just going to reverse that fold and make it a mountain fold and bring it up. It's a little tricky at first, but once you get the hang of it, it all works out. You're just going to keep repeating that all the way till you get to the end of your paper. If it's a valley fold, you're going to turn it into a mountain fold and just push it right up there. So now you've got one last fold that you're going to bring up to that edge. And then once you do that, you're just going to take that last raw edge that you've got and fold it over. And now you've got your completed accordion. It should come out pretty neat and even. Just go back and reinforce a bunch of those folds there so that they're nice and sharp. And then you're all set to attach it to your front and your back cover. I'm going to be using double stick tape to attach my spine to my front and back cover. The double stick tape is a lot easier to use than a glue stick, but you can use a glue stick too. When you attach the tape, you want to make sure that the tape is pretty close to the edge. This tape is really thick, so it's hard to get two across, so I actually can use a thinner piece of tape as well. If you want to use a glue stick instead, you can do that. Now you just peel the tape off, and you're going to try and get it as close to that edge of the book as you can. And you're going to line up the other cover the same way. So now we're going to attach our end papers on the inside of the front and the back cover of our books. So these end papers should really just be slightly smaller than the size of your book. Our book is 5 1/4 by 7 1/4, so our end papers are going to be 5 by 7. I did a little collage for mine, and so sometimes it's helpful that after you glue your end papers down and you want to burnish them down, if you use a bone folder directly on that, it might end up smearing your actual image. So what I usually do is I take some wax paper and I'll put the wax paper on top, and then I'll use a bone folder to burnish the whole thing down. Once you've got those all burnished down, you're going to take your book and put it aside, and now we're going to work on the pages. The pages for our book are going to be 5 inches by 7 inches, which is just slightly smaller than the size of the book. Each page needs to be cut down so that they can make the interlocking flaps when the book is open and closed. I chose to make mine 2 inches on the top, 2 inches on the bottom, and 3 inches on the middle. That leaves a little space in between each one so that when the book opens and closes, they don't get caught on each other. The top and the bottom sections get attached on the left side of the mountain, and the middle section gets attached on the right side. And you're just going to continue that all the way across the book until you get all of your pages added in. It's probably best to do whatever you want to your pages before you cut them and put them into your book. And there it is. There's your finished book.